Hello, Ian here from Dark Blaze Workshop. Welcome back to another video. In this one we're doing some Mandalorian inspired speeder bikes for Star Wars Legion. Okay, here we go with the speeder bikes. Long story, but I've painted these already, and let me just show you. That's the last one I did, and I only painted it this color scheme because I was watching Mandalorian season 2, and obviously they're riding white bikes in that, and I thought, oh yeah, that's great, and that's what I'm going to do with mine. So I'm glad I waited. But I didn't record it at the time, and they've had such a good reaction on my Instagram and on the Facebook groups as well. So I was a bit annoyed with myself when I didn't record the process. So this is what this video is about, because luckily I bought another core set because I wanted to boost the Stormtrooper side of the army, and luckily you get a pair of bikes in it. And the second reason was I wanted that pose as well, so he's firing behind him as he rides. And yeah, we're going to record the process, and hopefully they'll turn out as well as the previous two. Now then, what I did was obviously built them, primed them in grey. It's only because they were in the vicinity of another lot that I was priming that they got a bit of white on them by mistake. So don't worry about giving them a blast from white from above. It would probably make things a bit harder for you, to be honest. Just stick to grey or black. So the paints I'm going to be using. Last time I used Model Colour Pale Blue Grey for the shadow tone, but I'm going to use this Pale Blue Grey from the Model Air range. I'm going to add a little bit of blue grey to it. That's for the absolute shadows, and then we'll build up the highlights by adding white grey to it, and then finally white at the end. I'm using a airbrush for this. I use an Iwata Eclipse. It's a 0.35 needle on this, so it's not for massive detail work, but I do get quite good results out of it somehow. But I must do a prayer to the airbrush gods before we start anything, and everything will work out well. So, right, let's get started. I'm going to mix the first two colours we were talking about, the pale blue grey and the blue grey to start with, and then we'll get on with it. So, a normal process is adding a couple of drops Flow Improver in there first. Got 5 drops pale blue grey, probably too much, but what the hell. And I'll do 1 drop with that blue grey. And we'll add some thinner to that. I use Tamiya acrylic thinner. There's about 4 drops of thinner in there. We'll see how that flows. Helps if you turn your airbrush on as well, or the compressor I should say. Okay, I'm just going to move the camera up a little bit and we'll get started. So with the other pair of bikes, I put the shadow in this area here because I wanted to concentrate the highlights around the front. So we'll do the same again. So you'll have pure white there, white and white grey round here, white grey along there as well, and then we'll move into the pale blue grey and then the darker tone here. It's the same going top to bottom. It'll be lighter at the top, darker at the bottom, lighter at the top, darker at the bottom. These are all metallic colours along here, so don't worry about them, they're metallic. So let's get started. That's looking good. So I'm just gonna, there's no great skill to this bit, just put the shadow in along the middle of the bike. Just go along as far as you think you'll need to get a transition from the white grey into the pale blue grey. And I'll put some along the bottom of these panels too. And I'll just give them a blast there, just to dry them off a bit. And I'll do another pass, just to build up that shadow. So I'll leave that one dry and I'll go into this one. Second pass on this one. Doesn't look very dark at the minute, but when you put the white highlights on, it does appear a lot darker. So don't worry about that just yet. Okay, leave that dry. So I'm just going to reinforce the shadow with a little bit of more blue-grey into the mix. And I'm just going to put that right in the middle there. Hopefully you can see that. And just on the bottom edge. Just to get a little extra bit of shadow on there. Start highlighting now. So you can see we've got a nice decent shadow in there now. So what we need to do now is start building up the highlights. So I've got a 50-50 mix of pale blue grey. What is it? Is it a blue grey pale? No, it's pale blue grey and the white grey. If anything, there's more white grey than pale blue. So I'm going to start from the front of the machine and just work my way around very gently. And I think I've dropped the pressure down on my compressor, I think. So as you can hopefully see, that I've got a diagonal line coming down now with the white grey, and I'm just going to turn the pressure down a little bit more, so I'm about 1.8 bar now. So start at the front on the nose, work your way around, and concentrate it towards the top of the instrument panel. So you've got a fade there. You see that? And if you see, I worked my way down this the back panel there. Start at the top of the line and work your way down into the previous dark shadow area, so you get a nice transition. Then it's going to go another pass. Just bring it down slowly until you're happy with the fade, right? And then we'll put some colour on the top as well then. So same again here, I'm starting at the top of the front panel, just working my way down slowly, and I want to keep that shadow at the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. So in a nutshell, this is the process. So I just want to build up the highlights to pure white, excuse me. Any areas that you can't get to with a brush, with the airbrush, just use a brush, but I'm just going to put a broad highlight along the top here. I'm just hoping you can see. It's looking pretty good already on here. So we'll move on to white grey next. Okay, next stage is the 50-50 white, grey and white. And the same again, we'll start at the top area. Talking about at the back now. Start at the top and work our way to about halfway down. And again, the pressure is quite low. And that's it. That's as far as you can go, I reckon. And we did the previous layer to about, so I don't know why my hand was shaking there. Probably because I was trying to use my thumb, but we went to there with the previous mix, so I'm going to start about there and work my way this way. But I'm still going to go further on the top part, so we'll go about that far and try and do a fade about there. It's all about getting it bright around the front. There we go. was thinking if you haven't got an airbrush, you can do the same with a normal brush, but just take your time with glazes, particularly towards these stages now. You want to do it loads of thin layers and just build it up slowly. Just go for a second pass now. If you get the broad highlight on the top. The only thing with this is where this shadow is mostly covered by the rider's legs, but I'll know it's there. So. Okay, that's that one done. So we'll come back for the next stage while I paint the other one. Okay, so final highlight now is with the white. And that's going to be concentrated towards the nose. I've lost my brush. So it's going to be straight down, but more towards here. Try and do like a circular shape if you can, but offset the top of the circle. So the top of the circle's up here. So you want to come round that way. Yeah, this is going to be a different color anyway, the instrument panel, but the highlight is going to be a broad white highlight there. And the same with this one. If you're not happy, just use a white glaze and start from where the white grey mix is and just pull the pigment up towards the edge there, and then give it an edge highlight with pure white as well. And it should pick it out quite nicely. But we're going to go in with the airbrush. And so we'll start at the top and probably not move very much at all really, just to get that highlight on there. And the broad highlight on top towards the rear. It's very gentle. I'm going to work on this front part now. That is the white done. I'm not sure there's much else I can tell you really, but once the dark metallics go in, it'll just make everything that much brighter, and it should look amazing. So I'll move on to doing the metallics now. Okay, I thought I was done, but I've just realised that I've done the opposite to what I should have done. It should be dark up there and light down the bottom. Same with that, so I'm just going to correct that now. Couldn't believe it. So I'm going to go back in the pale blue grey. just to get the tone back. And I'll do this one while we're here as well. And we're just going to go in the opposite direction now. So that's the pale blue grey on. If you want to mask off, if you've done the same as me, you know, made the same mistake, you followed the video through step by step and then you get to here, my apologies. If you want to mask it off, use a bit of masking tape across the top there. Well, you can get away with it just by angling, you know, away from the airbrush. So I'll put a little bit of blue-grey in that and we'll come back. So I'll just add a little bit of blue-grey to it just to get a nice shadow up the top. I have to fade in the pale blue-grey, we'll see how we get along. So our 50-15 mix next to the pale blue-grey and off-white. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's the white, grey and white next. That's still wet. Let me go on to the other model. Just test it before you run. Right. So it's just towards the bottom now. So about just under halfway and work your way down then. Blowing air on this just to make sure it's dry first. See, it's still just a little bit shiny. So okay, it's just white left. So just to finish off, white is going on right down the bottom now. make sure it's nice and bright. Lovely. Right, so onto the metallics. Okay, so I just started the metallics. I'm using Vallejo's Burnt Iron because it's one of my favourites. It's a slightly, it's not really a one of your classic metals because it's slightly tarnished, and when you mix it with black, it gives a lovely tone. So that's what I'm doing at the minute, is just finishing off everything that needs a coat of this stuff, and we'll probably give it a wash then of Nuln Oil. So just make sure you've got everything covered. A little mistake there. That's it. And once this goes on, the white panels will seem that much brighter now. And I think that's where the effect of this paint job lies, is the contrast between the dark metals and the light panels. So yeah, I'll finish the metallics and we'll come back for the next stage. Okay, so what else I do, I get some German grey and then I'll supply that to the instrument panel here and thin it down so it can go into the recesses and everything. And then I'll do the seat as well, in true Blue Peter fashion. It'll look something like that when it's done. If you don't like the dark metals, just give it a dry brush with something like Iron Breaker or something like that, just to give it a nice little shine. But I like them dull. I think it goes well. And with the instrument panel, then you can pick out the coloured buttons there. I don't know if you can see them. There's a couple of blue ones there, and green, and red. The Trooper itself, I wouldn't do a colour scheme for that. There's so many on YouTube anyway. But I used pale blue grey rather than my old Stormtrooper recipe, which is more of a yellowy grey. This goes well with the bike scheme as well, so it ties it in nicely, bike rider and the bike, so it just made sense to me. The backpack, I think it was Storm Vermin grey or something like that, and then highlight up with a bit of a sandy colour to go with the bases, and then it was brown for the straps, and then just give them a dark line either side and they're done. So that's it. Don't there's much else to say about that. So that's it, I think. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you give it a go. If you do give it a go, get in touch and tell me how you got on. You know, I'd love seeing people's work when they follow the tutorials. It's brilliant. So I'm going to finish off these two bikes. So I'll have a group of 4 of them now. So that's happy days. I'm looking forward to some other Star Wars stuff now. I think I've got some Death Troopers here, and I think I want a Boba Fett after that as well. So I'll be putting them on the on Instagram and the group soon. So thanks for watching. just get in touch in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.